And good evening, everybody. And you hear that sound, you know what that means. It is the return once again of the Men of Steel podcast with me, Charles Prodigy Richey. Right here, you can catch me usually Mondays and Wednesdays here, streaming live on Facebook. You can search for my Facebook page, Men of Steel Podcast, which is AKA at Men of Steel Nation. Of course, you can also catch me streaming live right now on my two other platforms right now. On Instagram, Men of Steel Nation. And of course, you can also check out my YouTube channel, Men of Steel Podcast. Getting a little bit closer to training camp as we are about less than 3-4 days away. Cannot wait. I am definitely going to try and head down there this Friday and try to get some coverage down there. And check out a few guys right here for the team, try and provide some coverage. If not, they'll definitely be replaying probably the next week, but more likely definitely aiming for this Friday. As, what can I say, it's definitely getting a lot more exciting, a lot more stuff to get into. Plus, a week and a half, we also got the NFL Hall of Fame game coming up, which will be on Thursday, August 1st, and that will definitely be featuring the Denver Broncos taking on the Atlanta Falcons. That's going to be a Thursday night game, which should be at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm not sure what channel it's on. I want to say it's going to be on NBC Sports, and that's what it usually was on last year. So definitely a good class, speaking of which, as we got in there coming up. And like I said, I mean, when you look at the list of guys, Champ Bailey, former Washington Redskins and Denver Bronco, quarterback right there, big-time shutdown quarterback, AFC champion too, by the way. You got the late Pat Bowlen, who unfortunately had to pass away just recently, who won his first 2 Super Bowls, unfortunately beat the Steelers along the way. But that was also on John Elway, his 4th attempt, and who could never forget the magical words, the 4 words he uttered, "This one's for John," and well deserved, by the way, that year. And then you also got Gilbreth, tight end. Gilbreth, not tight end, excuse me, he was a contributor. You also got tight end, former Chiefs and Falcons tight end, Tony Gonzalez. You also got former Noble cornerback from the Patriots and the Bills, and Ty Law. Center Kevin M. And then safety, Ed Reed, and safety, Johnny Robson. Of course, Ed Reed primarily going in as a Raven. And I want to say he played briefly for a little bit as a Texan. Really wanted to retire. And like I said, but for right now, we're getting ready to get focused on this podcast right now. Again, if you want to feel free and share your comments, I got the number to be reached is 312-209-2232. Again, that number is 312-209-2232. You can follow me on Twitter at Prodigy Richey. Then you can also, like I said, those are platforms you can catch me streaming live on Instagram and YouTube. Once again, Men of Steel Nation for Instagram, and of course, YouTube Men of Steel Podcast. And let's get into it. The opening drive right now. And I was looking at an article earlier on today. We've been covering this throughout the offseason right now. And this has been written by Dale Lally at DK Pittsburgh Sports about Chris Boswell, more particular. Will he be able to get his miscues out of the way? I mean, remember last year when you look at overall his scoring for the season, he was 13 of 20 in field goals altogether for that season, taking 65%. I mean, who from like the previous few years, I mean, he was averaging pretty much in, I want to say, like mid to high 80s% range. I mean, his Noble career high field goal percentage in the season came in the 2017 season. And definitely, I think that was large in part to some game winners where you saw along the way. You got the Green Bay Packers. I got Deborah Banks Walker right here, quick, saying hi real quick. Hey, what's up, Deborah? Thank you very much. Welcome to the Metal Steel Podcast. I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you very much. And then, of course, too, when you look at, one of the biggest things, too, Chris Boswell, like I said, 92% pretty much that year, beating teams along the way, like the Packers, the Ravens, the Bengals. And what can you say? This guy is still a legitimate solid kicker, if you ask me. I just hate to give up on a guy like this. When you have like Matt McCrane, who came in the final game of the season, went for 3 against the Bengals, only because Chris Boswell injured himself along the way. I think there was a strain like in his leg in the closing moments of the season. Chris Boswell, like I said, and Dale Lowry's now going down right now, and the Steelers were to release Boswell since it's already passed the June 1st release date, or cut, as you want to say. And to release Boswell pretty much after the June 1st deadline, right now, as it would stand, it will count as $1.2 million in this year's cap with $3 million savings and $3.6 million cap hit for the next season, which would be 3.6. So it'll be a $1.2 million cap hit this year. But again, just remember those next 2 years will be doubling the 3.6, or they'll be left with some dead money pretty much right there. And special teams core there, when you look at Smith, who's been like Danny Smith, who's been the special teams core of the Pittsburgh Steelers, he was saying that we've worked hard at it together, Smith said of Boswell. I see a great deal of improvement. I'm in the mindset that he's got to be the guy we had 2 years ago. Right now, it looks like that we've got it. We'll see when we get into the team settings. And that's really, I think, an encouraging sign to note right there. I think right now, when you have a guy like Chris Boswell, who signed that contract, a couple of years ago, and not a couple of years ago, excuse me, last year, and you saw what he was able to do. He was still a clutch kicker. You may not like how a lot of people are going to be pointing to look at the beginning with the Cleveland Browns game. That very first game, definitely missed a kick in overtime in that one. The guy who signed a 4-year, $16.8 million contract, which included a $6 million sign bonus and $7.295 guaranteed, which was an average annual salary of over $4.2 million. Well, basically, he's earning a base salary of $1 million and a roster bonus of $2 million. But remember, keep in mind, he's got to be able to make that roster coming up for that team. When you look at it, at the same time, I think for right now, Chris Boswell, like I said, listen, I think definitely the biggest worst stat, like he's kept alluding to the last couple of weeks, it wasn't just that he was scoring, but it was also just PA attempts. That was the biggest nail in the coffin, I think, when you look at a guy's overall season. When you really think about it, Chris Boswell right there, when you go 43 for 48 in that was just brutal right there. I think that just costs. It really just unfortunate thing about him that year. You're just missing some crucial picks right there in those PA attempts. And like I said, the games where he was missing the PA attempts, it didn't really come back to haunt him until later on in the season. But still, I think that was definitely a big time concern when you look at it. The key losses where he was missing the PA attempts was against Kansas City Chiefs, which was in week 2. That was one right there. And then also, too, against the Chargers, I mean, around that time, they also had like a 16-point lead, but still, I think those were the things that really cost them big time. But when you really look at it, too, like I said, I always point to the Cleveland Browns game where they had to end up in a tie. And just those games right there, it was just sickening at times what he was doing right there. And I think it was just a little bit more mental than anything. And then also, too, the biggest thing when you look overall, his overall stats, where it just seemed like when it just seemed to go a little bit more further out. He was good for like close distance, but the most notable things, once you start peaking up in that year, when you start to really boil it down, the parts that I scratch my head over is that he goes 5 for 10 and field goals made from 40 to 49 yards. So that was a big blow right there. I mean, a guy who's definitely making those shots. I mean, as a whiz a year ago, only missing one of those kicks, going 9 for 10. So my question to you is right now, you got this guy right now in Matt Wright, who's a rookie, coming from UCF, and you look at his overall scoring potential in his career, 55 to 71. So about 78% field goal kicker versus Boswell's overall scoring percentage, 85%. So again, we're talking about 77.5%, pretty much about 78% versus 85%. A 7% differential right there. And I want to ask you guys real quickly, do you still feel like that warrants right there when you go into the season? I mean, do you really feel like that's yes or no that we're going to see a big change at the conclusion of the preseason? Or during the preseason, I might add. So again, if you want to feel free and leave your so search for the live stream. It is Men of Steel Podcast, which you can type in also as well at Men of Steel Nation. That's capital M, capital S. Then you can also catch me streaming live right now on Instagram, Men of Steel Nation. Then you can also find me on my YouTube channel, Men of Steel Podcast. So also too, I want to just keep everyone posted here in just a second. And I hope everyone had a good weekend. Hope everyone was able to stay cool off a little bit this weekend, have a decent time. And I just want to just give everyone a little update right quick on the results so far that I got that I posted up on, let's see, the post that I made at the end of last week. And this was published by me on Friday evening. And I was making and this is a recap from the last show we had, which was on Thursday. And I was asking everyone, which Super Bowl team in the 2000s, the 21st century, do you think had the better all-around Super Bowl team? So far, as we take a look at the voting poll right now, it is right now, well, when we look at it, we got 29 votes for the 2008 Steelers, leading by 16 points over the 2005 Steelers. So there's 13 votes for that right now. So it's pretty much right now a 69% of the people and people online and social media who are Steelers fans or just watching the Steelers at those times seem to feel like that 2008 Steelers team was a little bit better. And I definitely have to agree right there. I just feel, in my opinion, that team was more self-starters right there. I mean, they just got more better as time went on. Don't get me wrong. I still believe when Bill Cowher and the 05 team, when they went down at that point in time, they were 7-5, did not have any more room for error right there. And the division was pretty much being slipped for the hands right there and going eventually to the Bengals, which they did win about a week or two later. So the Steelers right there, I mean, you had no choice right there but to keep their credits to Bill Cowher right there, who wiped the whiteboard clean. And guys like Troy Polamalu and Joey Porter right there was able to rally up the troops. And look what happened. Instant magic happened right here. Right now, I just want to say thank you very much to Jennifer Soretti real quick. Thank you very much for joining the Meta Steel podcast again. Pleasure to have you on real quick. I'd definitely like to hear your thoughts on there as well if you want to just share me who you felt and the better Super Bowl team I was just talking about right now between the better all-around Super Bowl team in the 21st century, 2005 Pittsburgh Steelers or the 2008 Steelers. And I'm going with the 2008 Steelers, like I said, because once you find out what it's like to win, and you have a majority of that roster on there, not too much difference. I mean, you had guys, I mean, of course, without Jerome Bez. I mean, he retired after that Super Bowl 40 squad right there, that run right there. I mean, technically, he was supposed to retire at the end of the 2004 season, but after realizing that the Super Bowl was going to be his hometown, Detroit, good for him. He decided to give it one more try at that point in time and decided to give it a go. So, yeah, I think right there, I mean, that was definitely a move that had to be made in his mind, and you look at it. But, yeah, I feel like definitely the 2018 was the better team when you really think about things and you really boil it down to at that point in time. I just feel like after that, because then Mike Tomlin had to have some of his own guys, like a Lawrence Timmons right there, who's doing tremendously good with the pass rush and everybody, contributing to the sacks. And speaking of sacks, real quick, I also just posted up a statistic that I did a week's worth of research, and did everybody know this too. I know they always say that sacks became an official stat until 1982, pretty much mainly for players at that point in time. But did you know since the Super Bowl era, more particularly the NFL merger, since then the Steelers have the third most total sacks as a team since 1970 with 1,984 sacks. Now keep in mind, you may not be able to see much player stats recorded individually, but if you look on Pro Football Reference, which is where I got my information from, you can definitely see that they're still recognizing the sacks they made overall as a team year by year. And like I said, you had that right there. You had at number 2, you had the Philadelphia Eagles with 2,001 sacks. Then, of course, number 1 team with the most overall accumulated sacks since 1970, the San Francisco 49ers. And the 49ers, when you look at a lot like their statistics, where they came into the picture and a lot of stuff. I mean, when you have guys like a Ronnie Lott, who's definitely one of the captains on that defense, and you look at him, you think about Joe Montana and Steve Young's teams right there, primarily Joe Montana's. But, I mean, right there, the 49ers, I mean, in their Super Bowl run, where they did a lot of their damage control, when their team sacks really started coming in the 80s right there, primarily. I mean, the highest they ever got as a franchise collectively, I mean, believe it or not, for that franchise was back in 1976. So it was 61 sacks. So that was definitely a huge thing right there. Big spike up right there. And you look at it. But, yeah, I felt like that was just an impressive thing right there to note down overall when you really think about it. But, yeah, I definitely feel like the 49ers right there were definitely one of the most respected teams, had a great defense. I just noticed I made like a little bit of an error right there, so I don't think they're the number 1 team. But basically, Steelers are in the top 3, arguably. I mean, ever then. So that was definitely very notable. I'll make that correction later on. But, yeah, definitely some good stuff right there. And let's get a little bit more into it now as we're on this edition of the Mets Steel podcast. Now let's get into fair or foul to close things out. There a lot seems a question right now is the Steelers may consider a running back by committee. And I know Obama was already talking about where they're not going to be having that philosophy where they'll be running the breaks of the running back. I think the last time in recent memory, it wasn't necessarily running back by committee, but they did have 3 running backs in there that they were utilizing. I alluded to this in one of my earlier podcasts earlier this year when it was announced. I want to say this was probably like back around May or whatever, but the Pittsburgh Steelers, I want to say that was in 2012, where you had, of course, who you had in there at that time. You had Rashard Mendenhall, Jonathan Dwyer, and, of course, Isaac Redman. I mean, which was all good stuff right there. And when you really think about it right there, too, I mean, Rashard Mendenhall was also coming off hurt after getting injured in the final game of the season against the Cleveland Browns, let's not forget. But overall, like I said, I mean, that was definitely a big thing right there when you look at it. And like I said, I mean, that year they didn't make the playoffs. They were 8-8. That was the second time at that point in time where Mike Tomlin's team did not make the playoffs. And one of the big reasons, too, was towards the end. It was just not getting to the quarterback, I think, that year where their sacks were starting to dip down. But I think at that point in time, too, the Steelers right there, they were playing horrible against teams that were mediocre. I mean, where it was the Tennessee Titans, Oakland Raiders that year. I mean, you could argue probably the Dallas Cowboys, who eventually did not make the playoffs, but I mean, they're still pretty respectable over Tony Romo. But I mean, when you look at the spouts where they were going, where they were making the playoffs, as far as like the 2000s, I mean, you made it in 2003, 6, 7, and 2009. We made it like 4 times pretty much within the first 12 years of that time. And that was a team right there, I mean, which I thought was like a crucial loss. I mean, towards the end of that season right there, where they were definitely in command of that game. And Antonio Brown, former Steeler, by the way, he fumbled on a crucial punt return right there. Eventually, the game was tied. Then Ben Roethlisberger, too, we can't go without blame for that devastating pick. I think it was an overtime in that game. But it was definitely a lot of things being questioned right there. Like Tom was just slipping up. I mean, you just had a lot of stuff, a lot of nightmares in that season right there. You just saw them just folding. And that was just right there. At the end of that season, they pretty much went at least about a good 4 years where they had a solid top 10 defense. It wasn't until 2016 they finally got themselves back in the top 10 when you look at it. But, yeah, it was just, what can I say? It was just a little bit awful right there. You saw the reality right there. Pretty much, it was spelled in the end pretty much Bill Cowher's roster that was built up. When you look at a lot of the guys, where it was like James Harris, who was pretty much starting to slow down, even though he did come back about 2 years later, just playing one season with the Bengals. To me, that was a nightmare right there in itself when you look at it. But, I mean, that season right there, you looked at it, you just really got a true glimpse, a true eye-opener of what to really expect with this ball club as far as, like, the inconsistencies. There was a lot of stuff, even when they were making the Super Bowl the last time in 2010. I really just believe the Steelers' fortunes this turned big time, in my opinion, was the fact that the rule changes on defense, the safety, the player safety and stuff. I mean, the hell with the helmet stuff. I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, with the Steelers, I mean, that's just really what made this team was their hard-hitting nature and style of play. That was a team right there. When you really look at it, it's just I really believe right there that jacked them up a little bit. You had a team right there who was just showing no mercy on their opponents, like dishing out some physical punishment on there. And that's what it was all about. That's really what it was all about at that point in time. Those 60 minutes, hard mouth, smashing physical football. But when you look at the overall the concussions right now, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating for guys to kind of consistently get hurt or anything like that. I definitely want to see guys more physically, mentally, and emotionally, and spiritually benefit financially from playing in this league. But you got to wonder right there, like I said, if not for those rule changes, they'd still probably be at least like top 5 or 10 right now. Probably top 5 consistently. It just led to a lot more penalties. That's I think as a result where a lot of their penalties started coming up. And that's just what I feel. But anyway, like I said, so going back to fair or foul, do you guys think fair or foul should be a running back by committee? I'm going to say fair on that one at some point. And the biggest reason why, when you look at guys like James Conner, who's definitely had a pretty much good, probably arguably a Pro Bowl year. I mean, that year when you look at it and what he was able to do, I think as a matter of fact, excuse me. Sorry, guys. But when you look at it, I mean, he was a Pro Bowl, excuse me, my correction. And then Jalen Samuels, who hadn't rushed for 100 yards ever at any level in his career, whether it's high school or college or even the pros, up until that game against the Patriots. And then Benjamin Snell right there, still got to see what he's got to do. Love to see what he's going to do. Definitely a guy that's hungry right there. But, yeah, I feel like right now that when you look at it, it's definitely some stuff to really think about. I mean, when you look at it, and, man, it's definitely right here where you look at overall what he's going to bring and what he's going to do. And, man, I'm really excited for this guy, see how he's going to contribute in there. They say he'd probably be a little bit better than guys like Conner and Samuels. And hardly any of those guys struggle with blocking or anything. I mean, pass blocking. But I think the only thing is with Conner, too, aside from the injuries, just got to get a little bit better with the hands at times, make some crucial catches. But other than that, I mean, I think that's going to be a fair thing right there. It's just only because Conner has just been a little bit more, I think, inconsistent so far health-wise. Even though he's had his first year as being the full-time starter without Le'Veon Bell, there's still question marks at the end of the day. He was able to start like 12 out of 13 games, which is very damn good. But, again, still got to prove it over time. And that's just the way I see it. I think you got to continually remind people who you are, what you bring to the table. And a lot of people just cling to him because it's the stuff he overcame, and that's just the biggest thing. Also, let's go fair or foul. I mean, real quickly, before we continue that, remember 2 years ago when Conner was a rookie, he had 261 carries, got 32 carries before going on injured reserve with a knee injury. So, and then when you look at Mike Tomlin overall, Lally does note here in his 11 seasons as coach that usually he isn't all that inclined to utilize running backs as much when he's got a star runner. Usually a star running back is carrying the ball on average 251 times, and the back usually average about 85 carries. But that just goes to show you right there So we'll wait and see on that. And then last but not least, Farrah Fowler and Ben Roethlisberger still being considered a top-tier quarterback in the NFL. And this is according to Mike Sundell of The Athletic. And basically going off the list real quick over here, when you really start to boil it down and you start getting into it and you look at the overall list, you got in there, you got two-time NFL MVP and Aaron Rodgers, number one. Then, of course, you also got Tom Brady, who's a three-time MVP. He's number two on that list, six-time Super Bowl champion. Aaron Rodgers, and this is voted on by 55 different owners real quick. So Aaron Rodgers got 53 top-tier votes versus two number two tier votes. Also, too, you also got, like I said, Tom Brady, who had 52 votes, top-tier votes, three number level tier votes. Drew Brees with 51 top-tier votes. And, I mean, I think that's a good aura right there. But the only thing is, Aaron Rodgers, I probably swap with Drew Brees right there. I probably have to still go with – I'll probably go with Drew Brees in that one. Even though Tom Brady's got the rings, but seeing this guy produce like 5,000 yards passing is almost like Russell Westbrook insanely averaging triple doubles in his career. I mean, there's probably a year or two where he does it. I don't believe he got it last year, but still, I mean, you look at that. And plus, he doesn't have to do all the work as much. I mean, you definitely finally got yourself a good running back when you really look at it and you think about things. And when it comes to Brandon Ingram, yeah, I mean, Alvin Kamara right there, who's definitely been one of the biggest blessings in Brees' life as career at this point in time. So I go with him number one, and then I will go Tom Brady. Then I will go Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to put Aaron Rodgers at number three for people out there watching. Then you got Patrick Mahomes, who's coming in at number four. So it's Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and now Patrick Mahomes, according to Mike Sundell. Patrick Mahomes got 48 votes. Then you got as number five, Andrew Luck of the Colts with 40 top-tier votes. Phil Rivers with 33 at number six. And then the last two for number seven and number eight top-tier quarterbacks, you got Ben Roethlisberger collecting 32 votes over Russell Wilson, who's got 29 votes. And for right now, I probably still have to give the edge to Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah, he had a little bit of a bad year. He was questioned on leadership. I mean, just some of the treatment, what he was doing. I mean, at that point in time, the way he was going on his radio show, that left a lot of bad taste in his mouth. But then overall, too, when Le'Veon Bell did not decide to join and take the Steelers franchise tag offer, I feel like that was just a part like where he was feel like he was being disrespected in a way by the front office and also by the league too. Just say that, yeah, I realize more of my skill level talent. I mean, what I can do overall, and I know I have a short-ended career. And speaking of which, he was pretty much on Instagram earlier today where he was just talking about how people are thinking like he's not being dedicated to football, keeping himself in shape. He was like an example about like, his people's like regular 9 to 5. Do you think people are really concerned about like stocking up like supplies or concentrating on this? But at the same time, it's just at the end of the day, they are kind of concerned about their long-term benefit, their own money and benefits. And as they should. It's not always going to be easy when you're put in that position. You may not like the way he orchestrated it or he went about planning it, or as fans that he pretty much had a little something to do with hurting their not only their Super Bowl chances, but their playoff chances. But at the end of the day, if the roles reverse, how will we look at? And that's going to call a conclusion to this edition of the Mass Joe podcast. with B. Charles Prodigy. So I'm going to still give it to Ben Roethlisberger the edge. He's still a top-tier quarterback. And the reason why I say this, too, yes, Le'Veon Bell is a special talent, along with Antonio Brown, who's probably still the top, arguably, wide receiver today. After they had Booger McFarland come on today, and he was actually feel like right now that DeAndre Hopkins is actually the top wide receiver in the league right now over when you look at he's over Julio Jones, Antonio Brown, and Odell Beckham Jr. We'll get into that topic a little bit later on. But I know today, right now, is supposed to be the debut of the NFL Top 100 coming up, which everyone could check out on NFL Network. It's supposed to begin in less than an hour, so about 45 minutes from now, be seeing that. I can't wait to see where some of the Steelers players rank on there. As far as like the top 100, leave me your comments, leave me your thoughts, send me a tweet at Prodigy Richey. I'll definitely be checking throughout the week. Then I'm going to give you a little update. I apologize. Like I said, I know it's a small little error. So the 49ers are not the number one team as far as sacks since the merger. I will have that corrected on my Twitter and on my Instagram right here. So that's it. But for everybody, I just want to just say real quickly, for those of you for tuning in, just want to say thank you very much. And as always, leave it. Don't be trolling, be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I gone.